Shalom. First and foremost, we will give all praises and glory to
Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahushai Ba'ashem, Kabadash.
And double honors to the apostles of GMS and Ruel. Shalom to the faithful men as always continue doing the work of the Lord. Lord willing, GMS Columbus, Ohio once again. Making a quick lesson, going into, matter of fact, somebody can read this article for me?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna send it to the joint real quick, so I can give me 2 seconds. Get on the Telegram. But yeah, pretty much, I'm just gonna go into the kingdom of heaven and pretty much, the house of David, because like Elder Yasharam, he brings that point out a lot. Pretty much the kingdom of heaven really is the house of David ruling, and you have a shot. He's the head of that, and it's all prophecy. We're gonna get those scriptures too. How the Lord said He promised King David that him and his seed is gonna rule forever. And what was King David doing when he was ruling on the actual earth? He was putting these different nations in subjection and slavery, and killing a lot of them too, putting them, making them tributaries and all that shit. You know what I'm saying? So Lord willing, we're gonna do the same thing in the kingdom. Ain't gonna be nothing different, But so Lord,
right, and Shalaki, just to add to that, that's why Yahweh Shai was known as the offspring of David.
right.
And we know through the scriptures that the Judites pretty much was the line of the kings in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
So it all ties into that. The house of David, the kingdom, the rulership, the sovereignty of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Beginning with the ultimate Judite being Yahweh Shai. Because everything is going to be established off that throne of David.
Right. So Lord willing, let's start with a scripture. Let's start with Sirach 47, and you can start at 1. Just to get it warmed up a little bit.
Yeah, get the engines rolling.
Sirach 47 at the top, it says, "Now after him rose up Nathan to prophesy in the time of David, and is the fat taken away from the peace offering. So was David chosen out of the children of Israel."
Right, because the story, King Saul, he was tripping, the Lord took the spirit away from him, and the Lord chose King David, and he made that promise with him, he made that covenant, everlasting covenant with that man, and his seed. But you got it.
3, it says, "He played with lions as with kids, and with bears as with lambs."
Right, because before he slew that giant, he was fucking those because the lion tried to eat the sheep. He grabbed him by the beard, smoked him. He killed a bear. You know what I'm saying? That man, he was a mighty man from a very young age, even before he killed Goliath. But you got it.
4, it says, "Slew he not a giant when he was yet but young."
Right, and that's still talked about even people that don't even believe in the scriptures. When they see somebody, a small fighter, beat up a bigger fighter, they always say, "What? David and Goliath." They can't get that out their mouth. The Lord gave him eternal glory. And really, that's just the beginning. Because when King David come back, he gonna be ruling again in the kingdom. It's gonna be even more greater. You see? But you got it.
It says, "He did not take away reproach from the people. When he lifted up his hand with the stone and the sling, he beat down the boasting of Goliath."
Right, and he wasn't fighting his own people. He was fighting, at that time, he was fighting the heathen, man, the Philistine, man. You see? And that's something that people, especially like the Christian church, they try to say that the Lord is for everybody, but no, the Lord, King David was putting nations under Moab, all them nations, in slavery, but you got it.
That narrative is false, man. When you read Psalms, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna bring some out, but it was David, asking Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai for him to get the neck of his enemies.
Yeah.
He never plead or cry out for the heathen to be saved. All right, and like we're going into further down the line dealing with Yahweh Shai is coming in that same stead. All right. How here in this modern day now, we understand in the ancient times, concerning King David. All right, he conquered the nation, etc. Here it is, Yahweh Shai from the lineage of David, and he coming in that same spirit. The whole spirit shift. No, man, he's coming to do the same thing. It's about the sovereignty of Israel, man. Of the nation. It reads, verses 5. For he called upon the Most High Lord. He gave him strength in his right hand to slay that mighty warrior and set up the horn of his people.
Right, you know, we gonna get some more scriptures on that, but the horn, because that goes into power. You know, the Lord, I mean, it's like when King David did that, you know, that exalted him, that put the fear in these other nations. You know what I'm saying? And King David, he fought that giant, and then at the end of his fighting, he was fighting more giants. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, hey, him and his mighty men killed like 4 altogether, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But you got it.
So the people honored him with 10,000s and praised him in the blessing of Yahweh, and that he gave him a crown of glory. For he destroyed the enemies on every side and brought to naught the Philistines, his adversaries.
Right, see, adversaries, enemies, he's using these different words, you know. They ain't our friends, you see. But, what verse you at?
I'm in verses 6. Well, I'm at 7 now.
We can, you can finish that aloud and then we can stop there.
7. For he destroyed the enemies on every side and brought to naught the Philistines, his adversaries, and brake their horn and sundered unto this day.
Matter of fact, read one more verse.
Verses 8. In all his works he praised the Holy One Most High with words of glory. With his whole heart he sung songs and loved him that made him.
Right, see, and while he was doing these things, he wasn't giving glory to himself. He was always giving glory to the Most High. When he took spoils of war, he gave him the glory to the Lord, all that. You know, and that's why he's a man after the Lord's heart. So he's the perfect one. The Lord chose him to be the perfect, really, the king. You know what I'm saying? You see? So, that was it in that. So, Lord willing, let me read this real quick before we get into this article. And I just typed in a simple Google search, King David's battle. King David, as depicted in the Bible, was a skilled military leader who led Israel to victory in numerous battles against various enemies, including the Philistines, Moabites, Edomites, and Arameans, solidifying Israel's dominance in the region. You see? So Israel was dominant because of those wars. That's why King Solomon's reign was so peaceful. It wasn't just because he was, you know, like people think this is just some fucking fairy tale, and then you just, no, King David had blood on his hand, you know? But, so now, Lord willing, we can go into that article. This article, real quick, is called biblicalwarfare.com. And then, you know, it shows pretty much his whole life, all the battles he went through, but we're just going to skip down to King David unite Israel, and then, you know, go into how he submitted the heathen. But you got it.
King David unites Israel. After Ishbosheth's death, King David was able to win the acceptance of the northern tribes through his honorable treatment of both Abner and Ishbosheth.
Right, and real...
Huh?
Okay, just to give a little context, you know, before King David was already crowned in, I think not Herod, I forgot the city name, but he got pretty much crowned in Judah. But the Israel wasn't fucking with him like that. You know what I'm saying? Until, you know, pretty much Abner had one of what's his name? Saul's sons get killed. You know what I'm saying? And put him in subjection. Then the northern tribe pretty much submitted to him. And then he united both the southern and the northern tribe.
Yeah, he was from Hebron.
Con. You saw how he said?
Hebron.
Con. As a matter of fact, too, can we get that too on hold? That Amos, how you gonna night? Yeah. But you got it.
Says Joab murdered Abner behind David's back. This betrayal could have had major political repercussions for King David. Instead, King David's response to the murder of both men helped to build bridges between himself and the northern tribes.
Yeah, so like you can't. Abner, my fault. But yeah, you got it.
At a time when it was common to humiliate one's defeated opponent through gruesome acts, displaying decapitated foes on posts. For example, King David chose a more honorable path. He arranged a state funeral for Abner in Hebron and executed Ishbosheth's assassin. A deep sense of honor, grief, and justice fights political expediency drove King David's actions, nothing less. The effect result.
Right, I believe Ishbosheth was Saul's son, one of his sons. And you know, you had the two men who cut his head off and brought it to David.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and then he was like, they thought they was doing something honorable.
Yeah.
But hey, David was a man of
Oh, yeah,
integrity.
he wasn't fucking
You
with
know,
him.
although you know him and the house of Saul was feuded, he still had respect for that man in his the generations after him. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
his house.
Yeah.
And what he put them both to death.
Yeah, remember King Saul, when he was bugging out and shit, he just like, man, look, I know the Lord gave the kingdom to you. At least promise don't touch my seed, you know. The Lord, I mean, King David, I keep saying the Lord, but he is our Lord in a way. But anyways, King David, he said, all right, I won't touch it. And then, like you said, them dudes try to get a name for themselves, shaking it, the brother and chopped his head off, and they thought they was going to do something good. And King David had his young man kill him, you know, because that shit dishonorable. But you got it, dude.
Nonetheless, the effect resulted in large political gains for King David. These two acts were instrumental in persuading the elders of the northern tribes to join forces with King David and accept him as a king.
Mm-hmm.
Shortly after King David established a new capital, Jerusalem, in neutral territory, he made it the base of his operations and brought the Ark of the Covenant there. This move sent the message that he intended to rule all of Israel without tribal allegiances.
Right, see, and Lil Willin, like we said, this is pretty much a prelude to the kingdom of heaven. Before we get put into the kingdom of heaven, the Lord gonna have to unite the tribes too. You know what I'm saying? And Judah and Israel, and He's gonna do that in this future prophecy right here. You might got that Amos.
Yeah. Right. And if I could make one more comment, because dealing with Abner, you know, you know, he was in the army of Ishbosheth.
Mm-hmm.
He killed Joab's brother.
Yeah.
When he said he ran like a gazelle or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why Joab went and killed Abner behind his back.
Right.
But that was the whole point. David was trying to unite the tribes. He wasn't trying to keep feuding.
Right.
And that's why David ended up having Joab get put to death.
Mm-hmm.
I forget who killed him. Was it Benaiah? Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But just a little history too. So,
Okay.
but I got that Amos 9.
Mm-hmm.
It says Amos 9:11 says, "In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof."
Right, yeah, because the house of David fell, you know what I'm saying? Again, you know, and you see your people are through, but the Lord is you know, we watching GM Chicago right here. You got Northern Tribe, you got Southern Tribe, you know, Jake coming back together under the house of David. But also, not only the house of David is here, you also still got the house of Saul here too.
Mm-hmm.
All these different camps tripping. But the Lord gonna put their light out and let the house of David shine, you know. But you got it.
It says, "And I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old." This is a future prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
When has this happened?
Right.
This is what's happening now.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
The rebuilding.
right?
Yeah.
As in the days of old, when you know David, you know, initially, like you said, you know, merged the two southern and the northern tribes.
We haven't been together since the King Solomon's rule. After his rule, they just split. You know, we ain't had no. You know, Jake had a little bit of equality, whatever, but that shit ain't. We gotta be really, really unified under this word. You know, but you got it.
Let me keep going.
That was the point.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. We can go back to that article.
So King David's wars of expansion. Wars and strategic political moves would be key elements in the expansion of King David's kingdom. However, these wars were not always initiated by King David. His first encounter with the Philistines under a unified kingdom and the war against the Ammonites, are good examples. However, King David was quick to capitalize on opportunities presented to him by his enemies. As a result, he was able to build an impressive and prosperous empire.
Mm-hmm.
Through his wars of expansion, King David gained control of all three major transportation routes and the land bridge that is Israel.
This is fire. I ain't gonna lie. It's a lot.
Yeah, they do. King David, man, he was strategic. All these words are like military words, you know,
Mm-hmm.
strategic, expansion.
Mm-hmm.
So the Lord put the spirit on King David to merge the two tribes together, man, and also get busy.
Yeah.
He gave him that spirit. The Via Maris, the road of the patriarch's ridge route, and the king's highway, access to these transportation routes not only contributed to the economic success of this kingdom, but allowed for easy deployment of his military when necessary.
Right.
And this is
Okay.
the military. The reason why America was so fucking good was the expansion of the highway. It was easy access for the military. The highways weren't created for niggas to be driving their Chargers and Hellcats. That the expansion of the highways was for strategic and economic strategic purposes for the military. You know.
I forgot. I remember they said that about Rome too. You know what I mean? They using the highway for to moving the troops and shit.
Yep.
You see?
It's all about the military at the end of the day. That's why America's so goddamn prosperous.
And real quickly, it said open them trade routes too. The King's Highway, that was a very important one. I think that's the one too, if I'm not mistaken, where Esau stopped us and won't let us through. You know what I'm saying? If I'm not mistaken, so like if I am. But yeah, that's important too, because when we get into the kingdom, we ain't gonna be just sitting on the throne looking cute, whatever, you know, having 1,000 wives. We gonna be ruling. We gonna have trade routes and shit. We gonna be prosperous. We gonna have money, man. Money, real money too. Lands, all right, slaves, all that is money. Children,
Cattle.
gone. Yep.
Hell yeah, man.
Gone.
It says subduing the
precept for that.
Gone.
Okay, this is Revelation 21 concerning, the kingdom. Ultimately, the new temple, us being that temple, us being that physical, building, so to speak. But real quick, Revelation 21 and 24. And the nations of them which are saved, right, when you get into the translation, saved isn't there. All right, in the sense that they're going to be granted salvation. The nation speaking of the heathen. Shall walk in the light of it, and the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor into it, right? And this is precepts, what's that precept? Isaiah 60, all right? That, 10 on down, concerning us getting the forces of the Gentiles.
We want it or?
No, I'm just referencing,
Okay.
yeah, they're going to bring their glory to us.
Right.
Through those highways, etc. It's gonna be pathways that's gonna all link up into our land, to our physical, kingdom as well. We're gonna receive all that. Just Solomon, oh man, 3 kings, bro. He was getting everything. He had what? A city of chariots. Come on, you talk like you said, man. This our kingdom ain't just gonna be. It's gonna be sitting there all dazzled up and shit, sparkling. Glittery lips and shit. They got, you know what I'm saying? Twinkle toes. And nah, man, it's just gonna be a business. It's gonna be an operation that's gonna be taking place, man. The earth still gotta go around.
It says subduing the Negev tribes. As we have seen.
Slide. I gotta get 25. It says, and the gates of it shall not be shut at all by day, for there shall be no more night then. Right. So like I said, the gates are going to be open. You know what I'm saying? I just want to bring that out to the slide.
It says, as we have seen King David subdue the tribes of the Negev while he lived under Philistine protection. However, the result of these campaigns was instrumental in his ascension to king of Judah.
Right, because you read, before all this happened, he had to flee from Saul, and then the Philistines let him live like in the south, and then they pretty much outside the border or outside the gate, and he was also fighting too. You know what I'm saying? So that took out them niggas. So he pretty much was just getting rid of enemies and and making it prepared for Israel to rule and live a prosperous life, a peaceful life. But you got it.
The conquest of Jerusalem. This was his first military engagement after being crowned king under a unified kingdom. The establishment of a capital in neutral territory was a political necessity to maintain the support of the various tribes. For a complete military analysis of the conquest, read how Jerusalem became the city of King David. The defeat of the Philistines. The Philistines were not particularly happy that the vassal King David was now ruling all of Israel. They developed their forces twice to the valley of Rephaim, intending to confront King David. King David was successful in both engagements and would later take the Philistine capital, Gath. King David would face off with the Philistines on several occasions throughout his reign, as he never completely subdued them.
Right, and then you read those precepts.
Yes, and there's precepts behind it. 2 Samuel 5:17 to 25.
God, somebody get that for me real quick.
Said second son.
Yep, 5:17.
So 2 Samuel chapter 5, verse 17 says, "But when the Philistines heard that they had anointed David king over Israel, all the Philistines came up to seek David, and David heard of it and went down to the hold. The Philistines also came and spread themselves in the valley of Rephaim, and David inquired of Yahweh, saying, Shall I go up to the Philistines? Wilt thou deliver them into my hand? And Yahweh said unto David, Go up. For I will doubtless deliver the Philistines into thy hand."
Right, that sounds racist to me, man. Giving other nations into your hands and shit, you know?
Yeah. Where was that love then?
Right.
And it's like I gotta reference this again. Understanding the house of David and Yahweh Shai ultimately sitting upon that throne, he's coming in that same type timing, pretty much. When you read Revelation and him being the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, that's him putting all the other nations in subjection. Following after, you know, the same recipe or what's the word I'm looking for?
You follow the same protocol, man.
Exactly, the water.
Yeah,
You
man.
know, as David, man.
Fuck out of here.
And
Fuck
then
wrong
what?
with you.
After the wars and after the smoke clears, what? It's gonna be peace, you know, once more. This time it's gonna be everlasting, as it is prophesied in Daniel the 7th chapter. You know, his kingdom shall be forever, man.
And real quick, Salaki, can you get your call? Can you get that first? It's the same story pretty much, but can you get the First Chronicles 14 and you can start at 11 because it said a little bit more in that one. You know what I'm saying?
You said it's First Chronicles
14 and 11.
So First Chronicles chapter 14 and verse 11. It says, "So they came up to Baal Perazim, and David smote them there. Then David said, The Most High have broken in upon my enemies by my hand, like in breaking forth of waters. Therefore they called the name of the place Baal Perazim."
Right, and Salak, if I can, NLT says, "So they named that place Baal Perazim, which means Yahweh who burst through."
Man. Beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful. They always gave glory to the Lord, you know? Like King David said, we're going to get that later, man. That's a good one. He said, we make our boast in the Lord all the day long. Through him, through his name, he pushed down our enemies. You know what I'm saying? He said, through thy name. They had that name back, you know, IUIC.
Hey, it's like I gotta reference that House of David show again, cause like I said, they made mention of that, like the Philistines when they was about to go up against Saul, cause you know Israel was lesser numbers,
Right.
and they was telling the Philistine, the captain of the Philistines at the time was telling we should pursue them now while we got more numbers. He was like, nah, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So we gotta break their spirit. Because they know, man, if we got Yahweh Bahashim and Hawashon in our corner, can't no one touch us. Rather we outnumbered or not.
Yep. Real quick, I'm gonna read this real quick. Since we speaking about the Lord, through him we win these battles. Real quick, Psalms 44. And let me start at 3. Go 2. How thou didst drive out the heathen with thy hand and plantest them. How thou didst afflict the people and cast them out. And matter of fact, what about Joshua? You look it up, he took out 35 different kings, man, just to get that land. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't peaceful, it wasn't no, he was killing shit, putting other ones in slavery. And remember, because one deceived them, I forgot what nation it was, but then he's like, okay, we can't kill him, so we're going to put the ass in slavery, But, and these are men of the Lord right here. You see, but it says, for they got not the land in possession by their own sword, neither did their own arm save them, but thy right hand and thine arm and the light of thy countenance, because thou hast favor unto them. All right, thou art my king, O God, command deliverance for Jacob. Through thee will we push down our enemies. Through thy name will we tread them down under that rise up against us. And it's going to be the same thing in this time. Jake trying to get weapons and trying to fight against. Right.
Ain't that what you want, man?
Man,
You got niggas who fighting for Esau right now, man.
And they
This
love it.
is our forefather beloved. What that means beloved.
Yeah, love,
Like, come on, man. This is the spirit he was in.
Right.
Niggas want to be pacified and be saved with Esau, man. Fuck a Edomite. Fuck a Hamite. Fuck a Chinese man.
Fuck a Sitch witch.
Yeah, a Elamite.
Yeah.
If you, that's why we don't deal with you dudes.
Yeah. Ishmael.
You niggas want to be slaves.
Yeah.
That's why the scripture says, is Israel a homeborn slave?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
We
right.
want to be kings. We want to be sovereign.
Yeah.
We tired of these beastly people ruling over us. Me and your call was in the joint yesterday, getting some young, come up to HQ2. We getting there. We in the line to get the Yayana. It's fucking the Hamite Somalian sits tweaking out. The bitch climbing in the freezer, dropping packages. I'm like, man, and they got more say so than us. Just unruly.
Ham is disgusting and they're fucking retarded, bro. Like Ham, I can't stand Ham, bro. I hate the voice, the way they speak that little Arabic, I fucking hate them motherfuckers, man. It's a lot of it.
Well, it's real. I'm sorry, and that's real talk, man. You slave ass niggas. And you see these Ishmaelites, these Elamites, these Moabites, Ammonites, all the heathen, except for Esau. Esau, he getting busy. But you low class heathen, y'all be owning liquor stores and 7-Elevens and Subways because y'all can't do anything else. Y'all not engineers. Y'all not this. You Moabites are not smart. Y'all just followers, bro. But Jake wanna be under these dudes, man. And want to save them.
Yeah.
Ridiculous, man. But it says, verse 6, it says, "For I will not trust in my bow, neither shall my sword save me, but thou shalt save us from my enemies, and hast put them to shame that hated us. In the Most High we boast all the day long, and praise thy name forever, Salah." You know? So yeah, man, it's all through Yahweh Shemiah Shai.
Mm-hmm.
You see? But you can go back to that.
Yes, sir.
Chronicles.
Yeah.
Kind
Oh, you still okay?
of.
You want the Chronicles?
Yeah, kind of.
First Chronicles 14 and verse 11. Or I'm at verse 12. It says, "And when they had left their gods there, David gave a commandment, and they were burned with fire. And the Philistines yet again spread themselves abroad in the valley."
Hey, real quick, we gonna do that too in the kingdom, y'all. I think it says that in Micah. It says the Lord gonna have a visitation upon all these idols, and he gonna destroy all. Ain't gonna be. I fucking hate Islam, bro. We ain't gonna have no Islam in the kingdom. We ain't gonna have no Hindu, plantation Christianity, none of that shit, man. It's just gonna be the Lord, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? But you got it.
Yeah, that Ramadan shit was so
That shit's
vexing.
vexing, man.
Every time I go to the store, niggas getting blueberries and raspberries and shit. It's all over the place, man. In the skirts,
Yeah. Straight up.
in the gowns. I ain't going to scoff because we wear holy garments.
Mm-hmm.
And it be a lot of 2/3 niggas trying to be, oh, I'm Muslim, Nation of Islam. Nigga,
Well, but that's the reason why they're 2/3.
Yeah.
Because they following after a false idol, man. Niggas throwing on kufis and now they Muslims and shit.
That's why that nigga Danny Haven got his ass beat. You know what I'm saying? By what's his name? Ryan Garcia.
Jaws all swelled up.
Yeah. And we laugh. You know what's funny? We laugh at that religion. That shit's all bullshit. Now what is the Quran? What is your power gonna do against our power? That's a false power, man. There's no enchantments to get Jacob, man. So you can do the Ramadan and all this bullshit. Go to the mosque. And we gonna laugh at it because your power can't do nothing. We laugh at Esau because he can't do nothing. All right.
Why Allah, ain't come down and put you in sovereignty yet?
Right, right.
Where's your prophecies at?
Right.
Where's your king? What's your kingdom gonna be like? Skyscrapers?
Right.
Fucking kidding me? Stop it.
Okay, you got it.
Verse 13 says, "And the Philistines yet again spread themselves abroad in the valley. Therefore David inquired again of the Most High, and the Most High said unto him, Go not up after them, turn away from them, and come upon them over against the mulberry trees. And it shall be, when thou shalt hear a sound of going in the tops of mulberry trees, that then thou shalt go out to battle, for the Most High is going forth before thee to smite the host of the Philistines."
Right, and one of my favorite scriptures, wisdom reigneth down skill. We ain't just fucking idiots, man. The Lord was teaching the Israel tactics, and Maccabees, same thing. They wasn't just coming out there just stupid. The Lord was teaching them tactics and all these different things, man. Because ultimately Yahweh was the man of war, and Yahweh was his name. But you got it. So yeah, so it only makes sense that the Lord makes His people the best warriors in the earth. You see, are the fighters. You know what I'm saying? The best champions are Jake. You know, even the ones that don't look like Jake. Some, not all of them, but some of them are Jakes too. You see what I'm saying?
Right. Oh man, the customs of war.
Mm-hmm.
Jake is the forerunners of all that guerrilla warfare.
Yeah.
Our power showed us how to be strategic.
Right.
That's why can't nobody deal with Jake, man.
You got it.
Verse 16, David therefore did as the Most High commanded him, and they smote the host of the Philistines from Gibeon to Gazer. And the fame of David went out into all lands, and Yahweh brought the fear of him upon all nations.
You see?
Man, that's fire.
You know?
The Heavenly Father gave King David fame, not Esau. You know, like niggas always want fame, they want to be rappers. That's the wrong way to go about trying to get famous, man. You know, that's why King David always give reverence to Yahweh Shemel Shai.
And he didn't exalt himself. You know, he stayed a base, he stayed a shepherd, you know, to the Lord, you know, put it in, you know, the spirit of Samuel to anoint him king. And, you know, he stayed humble and glorified the Lord all the way through that.
Beautiful. All right, now we can go to that, back to the article.
The war against Moab. King David defeated the Moabites and was particularly severe in their treatment. Although lenient in the context of ancient warfare, he ordered the execution of 2/3 of the 2/3 of the Moabites. We got 2 Samuel 8 verse 2, 1 Chronicles 18:2. Why?
Real quick, let's get that 2
Okay.
Samuel. You start at 8 and 1. Just read a little bit about that, you know.
2 Samuel 8 at the top. It says, and after this, it came to pass that David smote the Philistines and subdued them. And David took Methagma out of the hand of the Philistines. And he smote Moab and measured them with the line, casting them down to the ground, even with 2 lines measured, he put to death. And with 1 full line to keep alive, and so the Moabites became David's servants and brought gifts.
Right, so he just spared them just to put them in slavery. You know what I'm saying? And he killed the other ones. You see what I'm saying? Oh man, goddamn Moabites and Chinese, man, they hate us, man. They hate us with passion. We hate them motherfuckers too.
Yeah, eat
Stinking
squid.
breath. Yeah.
Oh, you fucking
Them
idiot.
niggas. You ever smell that breath, bro?
Yeah, they the worst, man.
Bro.
You fuck, man. It makes so much sense why we have to put these nations in subjection. It isn't just because we want to be assholes.
Right.
You people are beastly. You need to be fucking ruled with the rod of iron. Because look at the world.
Right.
Look at, you know, what the world has become with heathen running and ruling over it, man. It has become a shit show. Even, you know, shit looks good in China, Thailand, you know, every place got its own beauty and all that, but they're still destroying the atmosphere.
Yeah,
smog cities.
Yeah.
Fucking nuclear waste.
Yep.
Overfishing.
Right, put, you know, feeding Jake rat and cat. You know, got fucking dogs on rotisserie.
Yeah.
Like, you fucking heathen, man.
Nasty. Disgusting.
Like, man, I've seen video where they got fucking dogs in the middle of the street on rotisseries, man. That shit's off.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, you got a little glorious kingdom. You know, you got some nice provinces, so to speak. But now you still governing and running the world incorrectly. That's why you have to be taken down and put in subjection, man.
Right.
So the righteous, the sons of God, the Israelites, all right, can rule this place correctly under our beloved Yahweh Shai and our King David.
That's right.
Hey, I seen a fucking video. I don't know if it was Moab or MF. I don't know which one, but sometimes it's kind of hard to tell. But this motherfucker, he was like in the mall. He walked up to this little fucking. He was like a frog in a little joint, and he picked this frog up, bro. This motherfucker's alive. He just bit his fucking head off, man. And it was normal. They fucking eat. I don't know what's wrong with them niggas, but they like to eat live animals and shit. Sea creatures. You know what I'm saying? There's something wrong with them. And then, cause I know a little bit about Moabites history, cause I used to watch a lot of like ancient movies and shows about them. In which, real quick, that's a good idea to get into. Brothers should watch those, you know, what they call it, period dramas, where kings and princes and, you know, nobles, you know, get a little idea and meditate upon the kingdom. But the Moabites, man, it's a period called the Three Kingdoms. That's like one of the most important time in their, you know, in their history, they made a game out of like 3 Dynasty Warriors. You know what I'm saying? But at that time, bro, they was just violent as fuck, man. They was just killing each other like crazy. You know what I'm saying? They violent as hell. They need to be stopped. You see? And then on top of that, they want to rule next after Esau Edom. Hell no. The Lord is not going to allow that.
Yeah,
you know?
creating, I think what they created, an artificial sun or some shit.
Mm-hmm.
Just a whole bunch of bugged out shit.
Yeah. Con, you got it.
Verse 3. David smote also Hadadezer, the son of Rehob, king of Zobah, as he went to recover his border at the river Euphrates.
Con.
And David took from him 1,000 chariots and 700 horsemen and 20,000 footmen. And David howled all the chariot horses, but reserved of them for 100 chariots.
Mm-hmm.
And when the Syrians of Damascus came to secure Hadadezer, king of Zobah, David slew of the Syrians 220,000 men.
But he tried to call for backup.
Con.
Fuck you thought.
Right. You know?
This is our history, man.
Con. Yeah.
This is our history.
Con.
Not no fucking social studies.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking dirty Hamites
Right.
sitting in pyramid tombs.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Revolution Army and shit.
Kemet.
You know?
No,
Right.
man, this is our history.
Oh, yeah, you talking about Ham, yeah.
Yeah, Ham.
Con.
Yeah, with fucking emancipation.
Right, yeah.
My daddy fought Nam.
Right.
Nah, this is our history, man.
Right. God, you got it.
It says, then David put garrisons in Syria and Damascus, and the Syrians became servants to David and brought gifts.
Again, servants, slaves, in other words, you know.
King David put garrisons in there to keep an eye on them damn heathen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's smart. That's strategic.
Yep. Kind of. You got it.
Me?
Jake.
It says, and Yahweh preserved David whithersoever he went. And David took the shields of gold that were on the servants of Hadadezer and brought them to Jerusalem. And from Betah and from Baradai, cities of Hadadezer, King David took exceeding much grass.
What verse you in?
8.
8. Let me see. We can stop there. You can go back to that article a little bit.
Back at it. It says, why would King David take such measures after they had provided shelter to his mother and father? The answer is left to conjecture. However, Jewish tradition claims that the Moabites had killed King David's parents in an act of betrayal.
Like, what's that saying in the scriptures, you know, so. But, because, you know, he, at the time when he was running from Saul, he had his mother and father, you know, stay with Moab, you know, then he went back, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, Khan, you got it.
The defeat of the Arameans. The Bible mentions 2 different encounters between King David's forces and Hadadezer, the king of Zobah, and Aramean king. From the text, it is unclear if these are 2 different perspectives of the same campaign or 2 different campaigns altogether. In the first account, 2 Samuel 8:3-8, King David spectacularly defeats Hadadezer and the other Arameans, ancient Syrians, who came to Hadadezer's aid. In the second account, 2 Samuel 10:1-19, 1 Chronicles 19:10-19, Hadadezer, along with the Arameans, came to aid of Ammon, and King David again defeated him. King David was set up garrisons throughout the land area of Ram, controlling various city-states, including Damascus.
But, you know, we already read a little bit about that, so we don't got to get that precept again. But, you got it.
The defeat of the Ammonites. In 2 Samuel 10:1-19, of course, King Hanun of Ammon and his advisors mistook an act of kindness from King David and responded by shaming King David's envoys. King David's response was swift. He deployed his army and defeated the Ammonites despite the latter's help from the Arameans referenced above. 2 Samuel 12:26-31, 1 Chronicles 21:3, 21-3. This is give details on the siege of Rabbah, the capital of Ammon. The war against Edom.
Oh, real quick, let's get that account too. 2 Samuel 12 and 26, and just read the rest till 31. This is so how he took their shit too,
So 2 Samuel 12, verse 26, and Joab fought against Rabbah and the children of Ammon and took the royal city. And Joab sent messengers to David and said, I have fought against Rabbah and have taken the city of waters. Now therefore gather the rest of the people together and encamp against the city and take it, lest I take the city and it be called after my name.
Mm-hmm.
And David gathered all the people together and went to Rabbah and fought against it and took it. And he took their king's crown from off his head, and the weight whereof was a talent of gold with the precious stones, and it was set on David's head. And he brought forth the spoil of the city in great abundance.
Right, just like Yahweh. Can we get that real quick? Yahweh was in Revelation. He said many crowns was on his head. Because that's what you do when you take over a kingdom. You take their shit. You take their land. You take their crown. You put it on your head. Sometimes because there's laws on this. You know what I mean? Like not every time. Because sometimes the Lord say, look, just kill everybody. Don't take nothing. Just kill everything. That's it. But then sometimes he's like, look, you can keep the women, kill the women that already knew men, but the women that didn't, keep them for yourselves. You know what I'm saying? What you thought we had them for ourselves for. We had them for as concubines. You know what I'm saying? And then we take certain their gold and jewels, all that shit. You see? And that's all righteous in the name of Yahweh Shemel Shai. But somebody got that revelation?
Revelation 19:12. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Salakia. Where do people get this narrative? A big red nigga gonna bust out the middle of the core of the earth.
Right.
Come on, man.
Right.
Make it make sense.
Right.
Where are these crowns coming from?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And he had Salakia. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns.
Mm.
And he had a name written that no man knew but he himself.
Right. It goes to his rank because Yahweh Shai, he gonna be the head of all this. He's the head of the body. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna take over all these kingdoms, which says, Salakia. It says also in Revelation that he said the kingdoms of this world has become the kingdoms of our Lord.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? The Lord gonna take all this shit. The only thing that's not gonna be taken is America because it's gonna be completely destroyed and no man ever gonna come back over here. You know what I'm saying? But did you finish that 2 Samuel?
I got one more verse.
Alright, come.
2 Samuel 12, verse 31. And he brought forth the people that were therein, and put them under saws, and under harrows of iron, and under axes of iron, and made them pass through the brickland, and thus did he unto all the cities of the children of Ammon. So David and all the people returned unto Jerusalem.
Right, he put their ass to work too. So imagine how much money that the Israel was making, man. You had Moabite slaves, Ammonites, and we're gonna get into the Edomites. You making a lot of fucking money right there. That's why, like I said, that's why King Solomon was he had peace and he was prosperous because of the wars that King David had to go through. You know what I'm saying? But we can go back to that article. We got just a little bit more on that.
The war against Edom. Little is written in the text about the wars against Edom, other than the 18,000 King David defeated at the Valley of Salt at the hand of Abishai and Joab. As a result, King David placed several garrisons throughout the land of Edom. 2 Samuel 8:13-14, 1 Chronicles 18:12, 13, Psalm 60 verse 1.
Alright, come. So let me see. You already read that one?
Hmm?
The one you listed, you already read those one, right? Let me see. Yeah. Can somebody get that 2 Samuel 8? And you can start. We start at like Okay, so we was reading it, but we didn't finish it. But you start at like you start at 11 or 10.
2 Samuel 8, verse 10. Then Toai sent Joram, his son, unto King David to salute him and to bless him, because he had fought against Hadazer and smitten him. For Hadazer had wars with Toai, and Joram brought with him vessels of silver and vessels of gold and vessels of brass, which also King David did dedicate unto the Lord, with the silver and gold that he had dedicated of all nations which he subdued, of Syria and of Moab and of the children of Ammon and of the Philistines, and of Amalek, and of the spoil for Gazer, son of Rahab,
Right.
king of Zobah.
Right. You know, if you look at the ancient map, you know what I'm saying, those nations was really close. They was like right there. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, you about to say something?
Yeah, I think Philistines was what? Was it like southwest to the land of Israel, near the coast?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's you going to show you how close they were.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. God, you got it.
So he put garrisons in Edom. Throughout all Edom, put he garrisons, and all they of Edom became David's servants. And Yahweh preserved David whithersoever he went. And David reigned over all Israel, and David executed judgment and justice unto all his people. And Joab, the son of Zeruiah, was over the host. And Jehoshaphat, the son of Ahilud, was recorder.
Mm-hmm.
And Zadok, the son of Ahitub, and Ahimelech, the son of Abadar, were the priests, and Sariah was the scribe, and Benaniah, the son of Jehoiada, was over both the Cherethites and the Pelethites, and David's sons were chief rulers.
Right, and you know, we can stop in that article too,
Mhm.
but that just show you too, like I said, we wasn't fucking idiots, man. We like today you look at the nation of Israel, you got bitches shaking their ass, niggas wearing purses and colorful hairs and shit. But back in the day you had scribes, you had recorders, you know what I'm saying? You had priests, kings, princes, princesses, all these generals, all these different things, man. We wasn't just I can't stand looking at Jake no more, man.
Yeah,
It's just,
prankster niggas, man.
yeah.
Oh, 20 verse 1 type niggas, man. That's
Man.
what we fell to, man. We fell to niggas doing pranks at Walmart. Alright? We fell as a nation hard, man.
Sam's Club.
Yeah.
Yep. And real quick, we just get a couple more precepts and then we can close out. But real quick, can somebody get Isaiah 1 and we can start at 24. Stop down.
Isaiah 124. And for saith Yahweh, for thus saith the Lord Yahweh, a host, the mighty one of Israel, I will ease me of mine adversaries and avenge me of mine enemies.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I will turn my hand upon thee and purely purge away thy dross, take away all thy sin.
Right, that's what the Lord's gonna do. First, He's gonna get rid of 2/3, because them niggas ain't right, and they will never get right until they come out the nutsacks of the righteous men in the kingdom. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna get rid of them, and then He's gonna get all the impurities out of us. That's why we're going through trials and tribulations. So that's why James said that, man. Rejoice when you go through diverse temptations, because the Lord is dealing with you. It's necessary. Can't skip that. You know what I'm saying? So He's purifying us, and then after He purifies us, what did it say? In verse 26.
It says, and I will restore thy judges as at the first, thy counselors as at the beginning. Afterward, thou shalt, right, Slaki, he said he reserved himself 7,000 men.
Yep.
You know, which, you know, metaphorically, you know, in this time is concerning the elect.
Yep.
He preserved a set number of men who will carry out his duties. Men who will be warriors, kings, priests, you know, who will, you know, take hold of that ancient spirit. You know, that prophets, right? That was once in the earth, man.
Yep.
So, man, bro, the opportunity that we got, bro, we could be fucking Lil Woody and Aaron the Plumber, stupid shit, Drewski. But man, we have an opportunity of a lifetime to be a part of the host of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, the 144,000. You know.
Beautiful.
Continuing on, it says, "And I will restore thy judges as at the first, and thy counselors as at the beginning."
Right, because what the scripture says, have I not said that ye are gods? You look at the word gods, it goes, you know, to God, angel, judges, rulers. That's why we got a whole book of judges, because we was judges. You know what I'm saying? We're going to do that again. We say, though that overcome, you're going to judge the nations. Hey, there again, judge the nations. That shows you're going to have them under subjection. You see? But you got it. Well, you read, what verse you read?
126.
Okay.
It says, "Afterward thou shalt be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city."
Right, because like you keep mentioning King Solomon. That's why you think Queen Sheba went all the way in that journey and met him? All right, not so it's real quick. So you got there in Rastafarians, they didn't have sex, and then he came back, and that ugly ass nigga, what's his name? Haile Selassie didn't come out. That's no. She came over here to get the breakdown. She was woo like, oh shit, how you do this? I want to, you know, that's what they gonna do in the kingdom. Isaiah 2. You know, these nations gonna ask when these after the 1,000 years, because don't forget that 1,000 years you nations gonna get your ass beat, and then Esau gonna get destroyed, and then they gonna go back to their lands. And they gonna have their little rule, but they still gonna be under us. And they gonna be asking counsel like, okay, how do you do this? What law do you got? You know, what's this? How you do that? And then if they listen to everything that we say, they gonna prosper. But if they get a little fucking, you know, a little too big for their head, then you gonna have to punish them and humble them down, you know, quickly. You see? But you got it.
We keep going.
I think one more verse.
Verses 27, it reads, it says, Zion shall be redeemed with judgment, and her converts with righteousness.
Right. So all this reign is going to be with complete righteousness, because in the time of King David and King Solomon, you know, those righteous men, but they went off. That's why the nation we got split and we got scattered every goddamn where. But in the kingdom ain't going to be no more wickedness, and not one Israelite. Every single one is gonna be righteous. So if you all gonna be righteous, there's gonna be no reason for the Lord to take us down and have another nation rule. You see, we're gonna live forever. You see, but so now, Lord willing, can we get? Because you know, speaking about the house of David and the promise that the Lord has made to him, can we get 2 Samuel 7? And I believe you can start at 1. Let me see. Let me see. Yeah, can you start at 1?
2 Samuel 1 says, and it came to pass when the king sat in his house, and Yahweh had given him rest round about from all his enemies.
Mm-hmm.
That the king said unto Nathan the prophet, see now, I dwell in a house of cedar, but the ark of the Most High dwelleth within curtains. And Nathan said,
yeah, my fault, Salaki. Let me I want to get to the point. My fault. My house. Matter of fact, can you skip to 8 just to get more to to the point.
Verse 8. Now therefore so shalt thou say unto my servant David, thus saith Yahweh of hosts, I took thee from the sheepcote, from following the sheep, to be ruler over my people, over Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And I was with thee whithersoever thou wentest, and have cut off all thine enemies out of thy sight, and have made thee a great name, like unto the name of the great men that are in the earth.
Kind of what you already went through the little history of that, but you got it.
Moreover, I will appoint a place for my people Israel, and will plant them that they may dwell in a place of their own, and move no more. Neither shall the children of wickedness afflict them any more, as before time.
Right, because like we mentioned, you know what I'm saying? Because when we get in that kingdom, it says that Daniel is going to be a kingdom that's going to be forever. And nothing. Yeah, come on.
14.
Yep, you got it.
On down. It says, and as since the time that I commanded judges to be over my people Israel, and have caused thee to rest from all thine enemies. Mm-hmm. Also Yahweh telleth thee that he will make thee an house. And when thy days be fulfilled, and thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, I will set up thy seed after thee, which shall proceed out of thy bowels, and I will establish his kingdom.
Right, we're talking about King Solomon, you know what I'm saying? And you know, Lord willing, the next class I want to get into that, because you go into Psalm 72, it's a psalm for Solomon, and he said that Solomon's name, which we know who Solomon is, you know, if you can receive it, is Yahweh Shai, that his name is going to last forever, his kingdom is going to last forever. You know what I'm saying? He said, the Lord said, you are my son, you know, today I've begotten thee, you know. But who's that talking about? Yahweh Shai. You see? But you got it.
It says, he shall build an house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever.
Right. You got it.
And I will be his father, and he shall be my son. If he commit iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men, and with the stripes of the children of men.
Right, and that's what happened. You know, Yahweh Shai, that's why he went through. He got beaten with stripes and whipped up and put on the cross. You know what I'm saying? But you got it. So he already served his punishment, and now he's in the right side of the Most High, and now he's about to receive his reward fully. You know.
That's in Hebrews.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it Hebrews? Hebrews 10, I think. If I could get it real quick.
Come.
Oh man. When you say make thy enemies thy footstool.
Oh yeah. Come.
What say he is waiting.
Let me see my. I got it for you.
Yeah.
This is Hebrews 10 and 13. It says, "From henceforth, expecting to his enemies be made his." Well, we start 12. But this man after he have, but this man after he have offered one sacrifice for sins forever.
Right. So he got up on the cross. He died. He sacrificed his body, being a sacrificial lamb for the nation.
Mm-hmm. It says, sat down on the right hand of the Most High, from henceforth, expecting till his enemies be made his footstool.
Right, so he just sitting there waiting, to finish out the contract, so to speak. So he got a portion of it here at the right hand side of the Father, but it's gonna come a point where he's gonna come down and rule and reign, as prophesied, Psalms 2nd chapter, etc. Him receiving the heathen for the inheritance,
Mm-hmm. Con. And you finished that one, right?
Yeah,
Con. So let's get a few more. Can somebody get Psalms 89? Yeah, I think you can start at 1. Or you can start at 3, actually.
Psalms 89:3. So I made a covenant with my chosen. I have sworn unto David my servant. Thy seed will I establish forever, and build up thy throne to all generations. Salah.
Right, so the Lord can't break his promise, You're not about to let the other nations come in and then let them know. Hell no. Because that wouldn't make no sense. Because if that's the case, then who's going to be the heathens? Who's going to be the servants? We ain't going to be fucking working.
Shit, not us again, brother.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Fuck that. Shit. But, little woman, that was just a quick one. We can, now we can get, let's get, Psalms 18. Where's that at? Psalms 18 and, probably start like 37.
Psalms 18, verse 37. I have pursued my enemies and overtaken them. Neither did I turn again till they were consumed.
Mm-hmm.
I have wounded them that they were not able to rise. They are fallen under my feet. For thou hast girded me with strength unto the battle. Thou hast subdued under me those that rose up against me.
Right, this is King David singing and praying to the Lord, And he we showed the history, how he subdued these different nations and he fucked them up bad, But and that all was, he said, through the Lord, you see, but you got it.
It says, thou hast also given me the necks of my enemies, that I might destroy them that hate me.
Right, just like Joshua, when he took over, I think it was like, I always forget the name, but I know it was like 5 kings at that time. And he told his captains to come, and he said, come, put your foot on these nations' neck, man.
Yeah, when you read up in that chapter, when he say he beat them as the dust of the street, he was mud stomping this fucking heathen, man. Flatlining.
Very beautiful. And real quick, let me get a quick preset. It's in Baruch, Salakia.
Oh no, it's like he's gonna go into it. That verse. It's down. It's like.
This is Baruch 5. What is it? 4:25. My children, suffer patiently the wrath that is come upon you from the Most High, for thine enemy has persecuted thee, but shortly thou shalt see his destruction and shalt tread upon his neck. So we're going to literally and metaphorically tread upon his neck. You know what I'm saying? Because when you have somebody's neck, or even with fighting, you know, the Muay Thai joint, you put a nigga in the clinch, you grab his neck, because that's where your head gonna follow, your body gonna follow where your head is going. So if I grab you by your neck and pull you over here, your whole body gonna go over there too. So that pretty much, you have control over that person. You know what I'm saying? And our fucking hand will be around Eva's neck. They're gonna be wrapped around our finger. You see? But we can go back to that Psalms 18.
Verse 41. Psalms 18, verse 41. They cried, but there was none to save them, even unto Yahweh, but he answered them not.
Right.
Then did I beat them small as the dust before the wind.
Real quick, that shows you again that these salvations not for these different nations. They're gonna be other nations probably trying to call upon the name of the Lord, and you know, and the Lord ain't gonna hear none of that shit. They gonna be calling upon their God, and the Lord gonna have shown no mercy. You see, because they showed us no mercy. That's why Psalms 137, happy is he that has to go.
Take that little ones and dash them against the stone.
Yeah. Revenge, man. Righteous revenge, man. You know? But you got it.
He says, I did cast them out as the dirt in the streets.
Woo.
Thou hast delivered me.
So that was a Jake, man. He talking crazy shit.
God, hell yeah.
You know?
God.
But, you know, he rhyming and bars. So
God, hell yeah. God.
Sorry.
Man.
That's some fly shit right there.
Yeah. God. You got it.
Verse 43. Thou hast delivered me from the strivings of the people.
Mm-hmm.
Thou hast made me the head of the heathen. A people whom I have not known shall serve me.
Right, that's part of our blessing, you know, because right now we under the curses, you know, but the Lord about to bring the blessing upon us, and the blessing is what? You shall be the head and not the tail. We're going to be the head of all existence. You know what I'm saying? But,
I said, food
oh,
shit.
God, yeah.
And that's what we want, man. I'm not satisfied with fucking GMO foods.
Right.
I'm not satisfied with polluted water.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not satisfied with punching Esau's clock.
Right.
You know, we want to be
Yeah.
top tier, man. We want to be sovereign, man. Look
Right.
up that word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, seeing his damn face on the dollar bill and shit. Every time you pay something, you got to see this nigga.
Ugly.
You know?
And he's ugly.
Right.
Come on, man. They choose the ugliest Edomites.
Right. You know?
They put on dollar bills, man.
Right. Slave teeth in his, was
Yeah.
it George Washington?
He had hippo teeth, man.
Oh, right. Ugly, man. Smack. You got it.
Verse 44. As soon as they hear me, they shall obey me.
Mm-hmm.
The strangers shall submit themselves unto me.
Mm-hmm.
The strangers shall fade away and be afraid out of their closed places.
So they're gonna be submit themselves unto, and they're gonna be pouring our wine, you know, tending to our garden. It says that with Isaiah 61. It says that the sons of strangers shall take care of your flocks. You know what I'm saying? All that. You see, cleaning our horses and shit. You know, making our royal garments. You know, some of them, because hey, Moab, they can make some garments, man. They I ain't gonna lie, they had some fly ass shit in the ancient world, like the Ming Dynasty and shit. I'm gonna have them make certain garments, you know. I'm gonna have some of my wife do it too, but you know. But yeah, you know. But you got it. Just one more verse.
Says, Yahweh liveth, blessed be my rock, and let the God of my salvation be exalted.
Right. Oh, matter of fact, one more verse after that, so I can.
Verse 47. It is the Most High that avenged me and subdued the people under me.
Right. Again, you know, it's all through Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. You know, and that's why we waiting for Yahushai to come, because we can't do nothing right now. You know, we gotta wait for him to give us that power and give us those new bodies. You know what I'm saying? Because this flesh ain't gonna do it, man. We might be able to, God forbid, but we might be able to kill a few, you know, whatever. But eventually Esau gonna slap us down quick. You know what I'm saying? But so now, Lord willing, let's just get just a few more. Can we get Luke 1:21? You know, just speaking about Yahushai. You know, in the house of David, because like I said, you know, the kingdom of heaven is gonna be the house of David ruling. And then can we get that one in Zechariah? I forgot where it's. I think it's 12, where it says everybody gonna be like the David and the angel before the Lord. And then after that, can we get Psalms 122? And what verse is that? Hold on, what's the lock here?
I got
122.
Luke.
Alright, come. 122 and you can start at 4, but you can read that Luke first though.
So Luke 1:21, right?
Yeah.
So Luke chapter 1, verse 21 says, "And the people waited for Zacharias and marveled that he tarried for so long in the temple. And when he came out, because he could not speak unto them, and they perceived that he had seen a vision in the temple, for he beckoned unto them and remained speechless. And it came to pass that as soon as the days of his ministration were accomplished,
So like it might be not be it, but keep reading though.
he departed to his own house. And after those days, his wife Elizabeth conceived and hid herself."
Yeah, my fault. He skipped to 31, so like this is talking about Yahushua's birth, you know.
Yep.
Then you got it.
Luke 1:31, "And behold, thou shalt conceive in thy womb and bring forth a son, and shalt call his name Yahushua. He shall be great and shall be called the Son of the Highest, and the Lord God shall give unto him the throne of his father David."
Right, see? So it's all about the house of David and that throne, man, and that's what, you know, Yahushua, he's the head of all that. You see? But you get one more verse.
It says, "He shall reign over the house of Jacob forever, and his kingdom there shall be no end."
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you already know Yahushua is perfect, so you know he ain't gonna be going off and nothing like that. You know? So it's gonna be everlasting.
Right. Like I said, when you understand the throne of David, it was him conquering the nations and putting them in subjection and making the nation of Israel a sovereign nation.
Right.
For you Christians,
Right.
make it make sense. Why is all this talk of David being mentioned, the throne of David, the house of David?
Right.
Him coming out of the loins of David, you know, ultimately in the flesh. Come on, man. Make it make sense. Where's, like you said, where's all this love and compassion? Alright?
Right.
When our king, alright, David was whipping Philistines up. He was winning, you know what, 5 wars. Him taking out the Philistines, the Moabites, the Syrians, Ammonites, Edomites. Where was that at? So Yahweh Shai gonna, you know, come into the picture and he gonna change everything. Now David's soft.
Right.
Now now David trying to save all the nations he conquered. No,
Like
man.
he made a mistake or some
Right.
shit.
No, man. He coming in that same stead. You know?
Let's look at that. Zechariah.
Just like who's like it? Just like Solomon. He received that throne ultimately. And what? When you read and go into it, in particular Chronicles, what he made all the other nations tributary, man. So he received the benefits of, you know, his father's conquest and had all the other nations in subjection. Just like Yahushua is, you know, ultimately, you know, him being Yahushua.
Right.
But I got that Zach.
God.
Zechariah 12:8. In that day shall Yahweh defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem. He that is feeble among them at that day should be as David. The house of David should be as the Most High,
Right.
or as God, as the angel of Yahweh before them.
Right, so like you said, man, when we get those power, we're gonna be like King David, man. And we already seen what King David was doing.
You know, feeble.
Yeah.
So the you know, weakest Israelites, so to speak, would be like David. We know how mighty David was. Was his arm broke a bow of steel, you know? And then it said, and the house of David shall be as the Elohim, or as God. Like the angels. That's what powers, man. Jay gonna fucking charge up, man. Fucking soaring around, floating around, just, you know, watching. Heathen gonna be terrified, man.
That was it, that one?
God.
Alright, come let me get that Psalms 122.
Ooh, I can get 9. It says, and it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem.
Shit, you got it.
Yeah, hey, come on, man. What does that sound like? What nation hasn't come against the nation of Israel? What's that in Daniel 9? Going into the sufferings that, you know, we have we suffered the worst of all the nations on earth, man. Alright? The Lord ain't forget when he said require of that which is past, man. Esau, he ain't forget when you ain't let us through, you know, use your highway to get past. When you came and, you know, snuck up on us and was slaying the old men, women, and children. All right, slavery, Moab. We ain't forget none of that, man. All you other heathen nations, you being confederate. Hey, Psalms 83, we said they were confederate against us, man. You making deals and pledging allegiance with Esau, Edom.
Why you niggas think you ain't in the in that seat in the UN?
Yeah,
Yeah, where you niggas at in the UN, man? You know?
right.
I'm not United
Yeah,
Nations.
because
The
this
World
World
Economic,
Economic,
yeah.
But just think, because we understand that all these nations are confederate with Esau, and then what happens? Ishmael come over here, he owned 13 gas stations. Moab got all the Chinese restaurants.
Right.
Ham got the African. You see halal spots and shit everywhere now.
Yeah.
That's because what? Why he ain't send a nigga up to get a store or a corner store? No, because they're in league with him. They get that them tax breaks. You know. What else? What other benefits they be getting? I forget what it's called, but I know they get tax breaks and shit. You know, masjids. Why? Because they have ancient history with each other to oppress you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. You know, and yeah, you have some days you get a little benefits. It's Spirit 144 on my end. But that's light shit, man. That's light. You know. And that happens in every rulership, where they try to, put Jake in certain seats to help forward their kingdom. Take his ideas, etc.
Get that Psalms 122.
Psalms 122:4. Will the tribes go up, the tribes of the Lord, unto the testimony of Israel, to give thanks unto the name of the Lord? For there are set thrones of judgment, but the thrones of the house of David, King David, pray for the peace of Yerushalayim.
Right, real quick, you said that this word thrones are set for judgment, man, of judgment. Thrones, the house of David. Because Yahushua said not only he gonna rule, but he said if you forsake everything, you gonna rule too. You gonna be sitting on thrones too. You know what I'm saying? From the house of David. You see, but you got it.
Pray for the peace of Yerushalayim. They shall prosper that love thee. Peace be within thy walls, and prosperity within thy palaces. For my brethren and companions' sakes, I will now say, peace be within thee, because the house of the Lord our power, I will seek thy good.
Right, I remember Elder Ariella in Dallas, he said that, man, you look at brothers, brothers' mindset, because we believe in the scriptures, he's like, I want this man to rule. You know what I'm saying? Because we know when the Lord willing through us, and, through the Spirit by Yahushua, when we rule, it's going to be peace and righteousness and so on and so forth, man. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much the point, you know what I'm saying? Unless anybody got anything. Everybody good? God. All right, God. So, hey, so with that, I hope it was edifying. We'll give all praises and glory to
Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Kakadash.
And the bonus to the boss and Jim, Mr. Ruel. So, on to the faithful men as always. Continue to do the work of the Lord. So, we're going to say shalom.
Shalom.